I started the day talking about animals. More crude terminology is albino, and it has to do with the myelin is missing, the melanin in our skin, but it's like myelin if it is an animal. But the more important part is that the phenomenon is also being seen in this pineapple. You think of a pineapple when you slice it is yellow. It is now having a condition because it's been not dehydrated, because it's kind of wet everywhere, malnourished, and it's turned white. I've seen 2 ambulances in the last 30 minutes. Have you ever been in an ambulance? I have, and it was volunteers, and they kept poking me with the IV. Oh, there's 2 ambulances, so that I've seen 3. They kept poking me with the IV. It was really shaky on the gurney. Well, there's so many potholes in the road that they were dealing with those as I'm on the gurney while they're poking me with these IVs that weren't going through properly. The suction wasn't working. If you just came from being put on a gurney and right before you were put on a gurney you thought you were about to pass out, well, now you're in a shaky ambulance full of volunteers poking you with an IV multiple times while you're hitting potholes on a shaky ambulance gurney. What a journey. You know, we've had the great plumbing, learning how to get toilets to work. It's been at a standstill since then. The fire department runs around when there's a fire to shoot at it with a water cannon. The same procedure has been done. Is this the best we can do? Will there be firemen running around with a water cannon for the next 500 years? Will someone come up with a water system that is even better for first responders to be? Anyone can be a first responder, but can they have an equivalent amount of a water cannon? And then at what point would they be called a professional? In the town I am in right now, the volunteers are the fire department. The fire department is made up of what point is the difference between a volunteer and a professional? Land masses are, they're great because they're not going away and they're here before we were. The ocean is equally as perfect because it was it's more than the land mass because there's more of it. That's what Lewis and Clark did. But can you imagine for just the amount of water on planet Earth and the amount of land mass on planet Earth? The water will consist of a water cycle including mist and rain, and then just air in general having vapor. More precisely, of water. The dirt would have dirt. The rock is made up of dirt is tiny rock. The significance is how much of the difference of rocks is considered dirt, whereas how much of glaciers are considered water. Doesn't work in that way because it's a lot more definitive from water to ice. In any case, the dirt has sand or also clay, and so how much of the land mass would be more than how much of the water? And you would think the earth has a lot more water than land mass, but then take into consideration that underneath all the water is the ocean bed, which is just rock. And we were in question of how much rock is dirt. Within the Earth's crust is liquid magma, and how much of a liquid magma would be considered more of a land mass or more of a a water. You would think it would be more considered a landmass, but just because it's fluid, I would probably guess it would be water. So that would be inclusive of the water category, which one would have more of it on planet Earth. And in order to do this would be understanding what Lewis and Clark did. You would want to be doing this for the entire globe in order to develop a system unique enough to handle viral outbreaks like it was a computer program. Just click the delete button. Wouldn't that be great if you could decipher the landmass to the water and know exactly where to go and what to do in order to make like a giant structure, in order to press it and have it deploy a delete button to a viral, given that viruses are the same dynamic of computer coding. If you know the coding of the water in comparison to the landmass, that would be your program. Whenever I'm walking somewhere and birds start squawking at me or chasing me, I think that I'm close to their nest. And this is why I feel uncomfortable. And this is why I feel uncomfortable when I see a baby carriage. I don't want to like go near it because I don't want to be looked at as if I'm in the position of mistreating a nest of a bird, or mistreating a carriage of a baby. I just got that similarity because I've come across both of them, and I just noticed that I feel the same way, except no one's ever yelled at me when I'm walking by a carriage. And you know, I've seen plenty of carriages, strollers left out in the open with no one near it. I would like to go around to the other side to see if baby is okay, but no, I'm not willing to even do that. I'm getting away from the carriage and just walking away from it once I recognize that it's even there. But just imagine if someone was like screaming at you, kind of like what that geese was doing when I was walking by the carriage. That would be the only difference. So Lewis and Clark were trailblazers way back when. They had the notion that they had to map out everything in order for future endeavors, whatever that may be. The founding fathers, they had a similar understanding. I can imagine when they had their muskets and they're making like bullets and gunpowders, how that would be similar to any future endeavor. If you imagine taking a tissue and then you wrap that tissue into like a little ball, and then you put a paper towel over it, and then now you pinch it. That's essentially what a gunpowder into a bullet wrapped into like a paper towel. That's what like a cartridge was, and they used it for their guns. Why am I telling you this? Well, because that same dynamic is like an hourglass to a screen. If you know the relation between a screen and an hourglass, that's very similar to the cartridge of a musket, and then what a computer would be if you had a ratio between the screen and the internal system, like the switches that flip on it. If you wanted to be more hands-on, you would use an hourglass and be making little bundles of it, little packets of it, because that's what you do when you code. in a terminal on the computer, you're always opening little packages, and uploading and downloading is just like pinching them. And now you've got your little cartridges. And what you may do with that is be a car salesman, run a movie theater. These are all done just by loads of little packets, like selling tickets or getting the cars shiny, all little packets. So what the founding fathers would think would be, this was important to have little tiny bits. Make sure no one takes the guns in case they want to ratio it in the middle and have a more hands-on computer. But I've been seeing more hawks than I've seen in my entire life. So winter ending. Are these hawks sensing a change that they've never seen something? They've never seen so many masks on the ground, and that's why they're all circling all the time. Have you ever wondered why your teeth turn yellow even though the food that you eat isn't always yellow? What if like eating a banana, even like the banana is white under the yellow peel, but the appeal of the banana, if you put a whole bunch of bananas together and you walk away far that are already peeled, if you peel a whole bunch of bananas, stack them in a giant pyramid, and the more that you do this, like if you get a ton of peeled bananas, like literally the weight amount of 1 ton, and then go far, far away, it would look a certain color that you wouldn't see if it was really close up. This is how this was like funny. A foreign person always was saying excuse me. He was from Africa and he would say excuse me. But excuse me, this is the same way that a polar bear did its fur, because a polar bear looks white, but if you take one of its hairs, it's actually clear. So this is the opposite of the effect that you would see if you put a ton of the bananas together and then went really far away. Then you would see a color in it. And to the scale really far away is like, you can do this so much so that the wall of China you can see through outer space. So if you had like 900 tons of bananas peeled and you piled them in a pyramid, you could probably see that from outer space, and it would look like a color. It would look like a yellow pyramid.